All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this session tonight. Um, it's going to be a good one. I always love these. It's been a while, but tonight we have a day in the life with Torie Purdy. She's from Honda, and she's going to tell us about her kind of her educational journey into becoming an engineer, and then also about her just job and her daily tasks working at Honda. But before I pass it over to her, I do just always want to do a little bit of housekeeping stuff. First of all, I want to give a special thank you to our sponsors. We have Honda, who's also here with us tonight, which is very exciting. We have Start Small and Amateur Radio Digital Communications. Also, after this session, they're not up on the Google Classroom yet, but I will be posting the usual knowledge check post-session survey. And then this video will probably by the end of the week be up on the SHLA YouTube, and I'll also send the link out to that. So just keep an eye out on the Google Classroom. I'll keep you guys updated and just keep posting in there with links and access to everything. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to outreach@swe.org with any questions, and I can answer them there. But I think we'll go ahead. I'm going to pass it over to Torie. So excited to have you with us here tonight, Torie. You can go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you all. And like she said, my name is Torie Purdy, and I will be speaking to you about a typical day in the life as a quality engineer in the manufacturing engineering department at Honda. Before we begin, I will share a brief introduction to myself, my career path, and Honda. My faith and family come first. My husband, Jason, and I have been blessed with 4 super cool kids, currently ranging in age from 1-year-old to 6 years old. And we've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old in there as well. My favorite thing to do is spend time with these people. Some other hobbies include playing games like a card game called 500 with my parents and siblings, golfing, vacationing at the beach, cooking nice meals for my family. I like to try new recipes. And finally, I do enjoy my job and I feel very grateful for it. My kids think it is really cool that mommy builds cars. One of my favorite quotes I have found since working at Honda is, "It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry it," by Lena Horne. And I struggle to say no. It's been a struggle all my life. So just different situations I can get myself into with that. There is only so much one person can do. So this quote just kind of helps ground me and just organizing my thoughts and making sure I'm making the most of my days and giving myself the grace of knowing there's only so much I can do as one human. Now that you know a little bit about my personal life, let's take a quick look at my career path. I was first introduced to engineering and project lead the way classes in the 8th grade. When I completed all of my project lead the way classes that were available to me halfway through my senior year of high school, I got an internship at a company called Madison Precision Products, which honestly turned me away from ever wanting to work at a factory. Throughout my time in college, I was approached for an opportunity to intern at GCOM, which is another factory. And I took that opportunity and I was really grateful for it because it kind of turned my attitude toward factories around. So liking that job, I did start there full time after graduating college. That role, I did enjoy it, but with having one child and wanting to expand my family, I was looking for something that was a little less time demanding. And at the same time, a local high school was looking for a high school math teacher, which was something I'd been like slightly interested in as well going through college. So I took that opportunity to try that out. That was unfortunately not less time demanding at all. Sure, it could have became that way eventually, but it was a rough first year. And then I would have had to go back to school to get my transition to teaching as well. So with my growing family, it just did not work out well. So I did that for 1 year before I began looking for other jobs, which I was very grateful to be interviewed by Honda. My first position with Honda was a product engineer on the new model interior team with a focus on BSR, which stands for Buzz, Squeak, and Rattle. We'll get heavy into Buzz, Squeak, and Rattle in the following slides. After about 2 years on that team, my role was moved to a new team called the Manufacturing Engineering Department, and a title change to a quality engineer in that transition. So every position that I've had throughout my time has encouraged good growth in me and my own skill set, and there's not one move that I regret taking. A lot of good learning in all of it. A little bit about Honda. Mr. Honda and his first 12 associates sold the first Honda motor in 1947, which could be attached to bicycles. It was nicknamed the Bada Bada because of the way it sounded. The first automobile was this mini truck named the T360, which I think is just adorable. I would love to just drive that right now. My family wouldn't fit very well, though. And the first Japanese car to ever be built in America was the Honda Accord, which was first built in Marysville, Ohio in 1982. The plant in Indiana was built in 2008, which is where I work. And the first car built there was the Civic, which we still build, the Civic hatchback, but we'll get into that here on this slide. A little bit more about Honda and then Indiana inside this. Honda has been so great for me. To be honest, when I was applying for my first full-time positions, I avoided Honda because I was intimidated by the size of the company. What I have learned since being at Honda are the great benefits of opportunities of a larger company. There is no limit. All management I have encountered want the best fit for you, because if you are happy with what you are doing, that is a win for Honda too. I will say not all companies are this way, but every person I've experienced throughout Honda has been this way, which I'm very grateful for. And I think it makes sense too. There are yearly career interest surveys to share your desires, but at any point you are encouraged to share your career interests. Mostly I have seen this happen more naturally, with people putting the most time and energy into the parts of their job they enjoy the most. Then they become the go-to person for that responsibility, which results in them spending more time on it. The Honda philosophy has always instilled so much hope, peace, and pride for the company I work for. Feeling respected at your workplace is essential for feeling valued, which for most of us is essential to stay in a career. At Honda Indiana Auto Plant, we currently build CRVs, hatchback Civics, and we are preparing to be building the Accord in Indiana as well. For my current role, which I will give this side note that I did start a different role just last week. So if you have any questions about that at the end of this, feel free to ask, but I don't know enough to have done a day in the life of a new role. So we stuck with my main role for the past 5 years is what this is. So the purpose of the BSR lead is to analyze, repair, contain, and countermeasure abnormal noises observed while driving a vehicle or functioning windows, doors, pretty much anything that causes an abnormal noise or has the potential, it comes to me. These abnormal noises are observed through our outside drive track, which is shown here in the bottom right corner. So our vehicle quality drives every single car that is built down this short track. And there are 4 different profiles, as well as a long stretch of a regular road that abnormal noises can be found on. And when I say profiles, it's like different types of bumps that could bring out different noises that customers could experience when driving in the real world for them, like gravel. Another way we receive abnormal noises found at Honda is through our sampling group. They do extra checks on the cars, and BSR is a portion of their checks. So on the BSR portion of their checks, sorry for all the blurring, it's just confidentiality things, but I'll try to walk through it the best that I can. But for our short track, which is the main portion of their BSR checks, is they go around the track 2 times. And some noises can be brought out in the second or sometimes even third trip around the track. I also do some sampling on myself as well. But yeah, this rough road is our main source of rattles found. But they also do, this portion is called the base max portion. So there are certain tracks that we have that we listen for abnormal noises when listening to the radio. So we max our bass out and have little USBs to use these same tracks that are used throughout all Honda. And all these little lines here are just like where they would write up any issues or concerns they found. Also, kind of just a side note for sampling is anything our sampling group finds, they contact me and we work together to correlate judgment level on it, on how bad of a problem it is, if how much a customer would notice it. So this portion is for any noises heard while functioning windows, doors, sunroof, tailgate, or trunk. So that's where they would write up any concerns found there. Another thing is something I do, extreme hot and cold testing. So for extreme hot and cold testing, this chart below here is an example of a test for more so for new model. We don't take Mass Pro cars to as extreme temperatures, but it's, in this example, it is negative 30 Celsius that this car was taken to. And then you let it soak there for 4 hours, test it. Sorry, the next slide will show how we would test that. We have a 4-post that simulates road travel. So you'll see that on the next slide. And then also all the windows, doors, we check all of those at this extreme temperature. Then we have to let it soak at ambient for about 4 hours, and then we can take it to the other extreme temperature. And this doesn't really matter as far as doing hot versus cold first. We do whatever fits. Our hot testing normally goes quicker, so depending on what time we get the test started and whatnot, we choose hot versus cold. But for this hot test, we took the car to 80 Celsius and let it soak there for 4 hours, and then get in the car and complete all that testing. Our fourth option on how we can learn about an abnormal noise that we need to work on is through warranty data. So this data can be very specific and very helpful. We can also, mostly our market quality does this, but they can also like call dealerships to get more details on something that they send in if it's lacking detail, or we just have some additional questions to gain a better understanding on what we could do to improve that noise. So warranty data can be very helpful. PQS data this is a survey. So PQS surveys are sent out like by Honda to just get an understanding of what our customers are experiencing. And there's also IQS surveys, which are sent out by like the JD Power ratings. So comparing auto manufacturers through those surveys. So just for a little example, This is one of our, or I guess I should say, for a little example, there's these are calculated by problems per 100 units. So this was, can't see it now, but it's a 0.2 pphu, problems per 100 units. And what that works out to be is 18 people wrote something or tagged that question as a problem out of 8,906 surveys received. So this data can be good and helpful to like pinpoint problem areas that we're not finding for whatever reason. But it's a lot of times just like not super helpful because people can tag like something as a problem and not write anything about it, which is not helpful. But or also they can write something like, my seat is uncomfortable inside the seat squeak question, which is not helpful at all. That just dings us in the BSR space, if even though it's not a BSR problem, we can't control the seat's comfortability inside like my role. So just different things like that can happen. I am told that for the comparison of like the IQS surveys, those are sifted through and things like that are removed. I hope so, but I'm not really sure on that. And then other plants. So for other plants, we make the same models in Indiana that some other plants make. So if they might notice a problem because different temperatures they're experiencing where they are, or our tracks are all similar, but like slightly different. So just like their track could be bringing something out that ours isn't, or it could be a problem they have that we just don't, because there are differences between suppliers. Sometimes all of the plastics, not all of the plastics, but a lot of the big plastics are in-house. So a good one to explain is like our dash, the whole dash. We make that at Indiana and they make theirs in Canada or Ohio, whichever plant. So they might have a problem just related to their dash. And that might be why we don't see it. But what we do when we receive a concern from another plant is we'll bully test it, like make sure we have, if they say it's best heard in cold weather or it's best heard on Belgian brick, we'll test towards that and try to create the problem that they're having. And sometimes it doesn't work, but we still try to level that up to make sure it doesn't happen for us. Okay, now to a day in the life, a typical morning for me. Sorry, I'm just gonna get a little drink of water. A lot of talking. Okay, so up here is like my schedule I've had ongoing since I started at Honda 5 years ago. I love that I have it in Excel right now because it's really easy to just like search for something if I need to catch up on or like learn something more about something I did even 5 years ago. It's there. I'm actually working on transitioning it into OneNote, which is also still nice. Like you can still search for things, but I haven't fully transitioned because I still just have a place in my heart for this Excel file. So every morning I check this calendar and my calendar through my Outlook to see what meetings I have and what all I should complete before the end of the day. Then I try to time block my day to help ensure efficiency with my time. I have shifted my schedule earlier since I picked my son up from school, which just started this past school year. So I start my day pretty early at 6 a.m. and then get to leave to go pick him up at 2:30. So I'm grateful for it. It really works out well for my family. But about once per week, I will have a hot or a cold test ready to check in the morning. So I can set up a program like the day before, which I'll talk about in the afternoon, typical afternoon slide. But so in the morning when I get in, I just go ahead and check that. And I'll go ahead and run this video so you can kind of see this car being shaken, which is, it's simulating our short track, which, like I had said, it's those various profiles it goes through. And I'll be honest, you're not going to hear anything. It's going to be really loud in my ear, though. So just here we go. That's it. So it is pretty cool. I know I've always been pretty intrigued by it, and this is the reason why people are jealous of my job. Because I get to ride in a car as it's being shaken. Mostly people that like are touring Honda. They're just like always amazed by that, which it is pretty cool, especially like when you also have it hot or cold. And not so much cold. I hate cold, but and hot also is not fun. It's really hot. It's awful. Sorry, I should have said that 80 Celsius is 100. Oh, that's not even true. So I will say the test I do most common is 50 Celsius, and that's 122 degrees Fahrenheit. So I don't know off the top of my head what 80 Celsius is. I don't do that as often. But 122 Fahrenheit is also like, that's really hot. So it does not take long to just start sweating, but it is cool nonetheless. So not a super fun way to start your morning, either super cold or super sweaty, but it happens. And then I'll go ahead and send that back to ambient, which is 20 Celsius, which is like 70-ish Fahrenheit. So I can be ready to start the next test whenever it happens. I'm not sure if I said this yet, but that happens like about once per week is how often I do a test like this. So that's something I do pretty quickly in the morning. Then I will catch up on emails. And then if there is anything that's like a higher priority that I need to add to my to-do list for today, I'll update that daily list accordingly, or update the rest of the week accordingly to whatever comes in the inbox. Number 4, I input data from any cars sampled or root cause analysis completed on the previous day. So this is the sheet that it's just an ongoing Excel, we call database, for every single car that's been sampled by me. I get the sampler's data like separate for a monthly report, but this is all by either me or other engineers. So we have my new department, MED. Well, and then I moved back to PED. So those are the two like groups of engineers that also are capable of sampling, that they can also put data in here. So this does encompass all root cause analysis. So if the samplers found something wrong, I would add it into this database as well. So this has all problems found. I don't recall if I said that. I might have skipped it, but we also get cars from repair. So if VQ, I probably didn't like fully share that, because if vehicle quality finds a problem, it goes to repair first. And then normally they can figure it out and fix it. And then I will get that data later also for my monthly. But sometimes they can't figure it out. So it'll come to me, and that's all in here as well. So updating that data. Then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have a stand-up meetings that happens at 8 a.m. And this is just a little snip of what we go through. It's just any open items we have this system that everybody puts on my team, puts their concerns in. So we just update or share any updates in that meeting. Then I spend time on trainings. Here's a little snip of just the very, like, what one of our trainings looks like. And sometimes we get a lot of trainings, and I'm at this point where I'm not that mad about it in my life, where I feel like I would have been probably in my younger years, but I appreciate learning more now. And especially sometimes, like, there will be up to 30 new trainings sent to me on Tuesdays. And, you don't learn a lot going through all of those when you're just like trying to get through them. But I also just really appreciate that, like, it's there. So if you need to reference it, you can come back to it. And then create and update summaries of problems found. So this is what we call a 1-page or a 1-by-1 of an older problem. And just in general, it's a setup of where you define the problem, share your investigation analysis and root cause details, and countermeasure and path forward. So times are very necessary and very critical to upper management at Honda of whatever problem you encounter, what's the plan? They need dates and a good path forward to close out any open items. So a typical afternoon, I spend my afternoons more hands-on normally. It's helps the day kind of end faster, and it's my more desired work. So analyzing and repairing any cars that have concerns is how I like to spend my afternoons, like the bulk of it. So I'll just go through some of those pictures first. This is a picture of me trying to figure out a problem that was difficult to hear with your head up here. So I just move my head down there and try to listen a little closer to the source of this noise. This is in no way given directed to me by any upper management at Honda. This is a personal choice I've taken to try to find the root cause of a rattle. It's kind of fun too. So, but in no way was I told to do this. So I just wanted to get that out there. But yeah, sometimes noises are just hard to find, and you want to get as close to the source as possible. This is probably a good time as well to talk about when we're finding a noise or trying to find a noise. We typically start by like touching different areas that it's close to, and till you get the noise to stop. So then you like just try to make sure like that location of the noise by doing that. And that's kind of like how it starts, I guess. Then, or if you can't do that, like it's a deeper source, you just start removing parts slowly until you understand where the noise is. So when I say slowly, I mean like remove a part, run it again on either the shaker or actually drive it. Or sometimes you need to grab another driver, somebody to drive you around so you can like move around a little bit better and listen for the noise and focus on like finding it. But that's why the 4-post here is nice, because normally you don't need to grab another person, but sometimes noises are heard on the road and not on the shaker. So you just have to figure that out. But the second thing I focus my time on in the afternoon is I am responsible for quickly feeding back concerns to our inspecting engineer. he's like the one responsible for making decisions on how we handle things. I also feedback to our vehicle quality. They need to be aware of like what they're listening for. Um, and I do apologize. I'm just going to mute this for a second. So, the inspecting engineer is responsible for making a decision on how we handle concerns found. Vehicle quality needs to be aware to understand what to be looking for with a problem. And then the responsible department. So this is plastics, our assembly, weld, and purchasing. And the responsible department, along with the inspecting engineer, is that they are responsible for how it's handled, how any problems found are handled. And then repair, I have to inform them of also what to look and listen for, because, you know, hearings, people's ability to hear is different frequencies. Some people can't hear. So making sure they're aware of like what to listen for, so they don't just like miss it and say, oh, I don't hear anything, it's gone, it's all good to go. So making them aware of that, and then also how to repair any concerns found, so they can support us in being able to repair them if they any more come to them. So since I leave at 2:30, around 2 p.m., I'm either starting a hot or a cold test to be ready in the morning, or I run out to the line before I have to leave. So on the line, I check what we call critical control points, or the countermeasure status of something. And then I'll get kind of more into the detail of each of these, or concern status, consistency online of something I'm kind of got to watch on. So critical control points, I've used this example of, we had a situation a few years ago where felt wasn't being placed properly, just like a little bit on the edge of spec towards out of spec. And that was causing a bit of a noise. And so I would just kind of keep an eye on it. Like a lot of people were. So once the problem is made aware, there's, this would have been a supplier problem. So purchasing was doing inspections on the parts, and the supplier as well. But I'm maybe a bit of a control freak, so I was also checking just to make sure that all was well with that placement. And then this is a little picture of a countermeasure status that I was checking on. And this was a countermeasure that our Canada plant was leading, and it wasn't really a problem we had, but I was just checking on it to make sure we had the leveled up parts to let them know that we did. And then this is a picture of a different situation. This actually had nothing to do with noise, but in my role when it switched to the manufacturing engineering department, I also supported just all interior parts and any concerns with that. So we were replacing this seat lift assist shovel, and we noticed just some differences, slight differences, that our 3D wasn't matching what we had online. And then we were making some slight changes to it as well. So we made the changes, and then we were about to like build a new shovel, and somebody said like, can we 3D print it just to make sure it's the same, or it's like gonna fit at least? And it was too big to 3D print. So I just used, this is an oversized paper to print out like the actual size from our 3D program, and it would not have fit. So these arms would have hit the new shovel. So it's a good thing we checked. But I feel like that was a good moment of, 3D printing is great and it happens a lot nowadays. And sometimes it's just as simple as just printing on a piece of paper, though, too. So just keeping things simple can be best sometimes. Sorry, this is that video again. So for final advice, I would like to say, as you're starting out in your career here soon, patiently listen, learn, and grow early in your career. I want to say as well, for me, just starting a different role last week, I'm trying to remind myself of this too, because especially being like, I've been at Honda now 5 years, so feeling like I know things, sometimes better than others. I am new in this role right now, so I just need to be careful and not, give people a bad look on me of like, she just thinks she knows it all and things like that. But it's, yeah, I want to carefully say, we have ran into some situations with newer associates, whether it be, just new or co-ops or interns, that it just, I can tell has rubbed people the wrong way, the way sometimes they like jump to conclusions. Not a huge deal. It's very good to ask questions. But here's my second line: ask questions, but be careful jumping to conclusions. Like almost like trying to like show how smart they are already. But just like be patient and listen, learn, and grow. And then you'll get there. You'll get there. It can be just like really challenging starting a new role, but don't like worry about not knowing everything. Don't be afraid of getting your hands dirty or of failing. Every failure is a lesson learned. So kind of going along with all of that, I think my last, or that next line actually goes along with it too. So as you establish yourself in your career, keep an open mind and treat all people with respect. So even as you do grow in knowledge in your career and maybe you realize you know more than others, still treat everyone respectfully, because respect makes for a good work environment, and a good work environment brings out the best in everyone. So whether they are above you, below you, on the same level of you, we want the best out of everyone and everyone to feel comfortable in their environment. And for this, make the next best move. This was advice given in from a Honda leader, and I think it's just can be thought of in many ways, and just like every day, make the next best move in your small daily tasks, or if you're thinking of your 5-year plan or your 1-year plan or 1-week plan and anything, you might not know what's best next or what you want to do next. But just making those small next best moves will help you continue to grow. In manufacturing, possibilities are endless. Job opportunities range from fast-paced mass production support to slower-paced new model development. And all of it is, any of that range can be like good, enjoyable work. It's just depending on like what you're looking for. So I want to bring this back to earlier when I said a job turned me away from manufacturing. And maybe you've been turned away from manufacturing in your younger years. But I think even that company I was with that turned me away, I feel like I could go back there now and like have a much better experience. I think it was maybe more so like my outlook, and then different managers also like play a role in how you're feeling with jobs as well. But I just think the manufacturing world has so much to offer, and it can be like really good, exciting work and you have so many options to like find what fits you best. And lastly, the field is looking for strong females now more than ever. So, women, it is our time to shine. Um, Coming to Honda, I do feel like, or I know there's more women at Honda just because it's a bigger population of people. Um, at GCOM, I was the only woman on my team. And I think it's like being a woman is just brings a difference to our field that can be very good. So I think it's a good time to be in the field of engineering. And lastly, any questions? But I will say on my like final quote I have here, another Honda leader said, "It takes two things to be successful: average ability and drive." And I feel like I've seen this to be very true as well. So now we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Torie. That was so insightful and also just so interesting to see all the different aspects of just your work and all of the testing and all of the details. It's so interesting. We had some people that had already started asking questions during the session, so I'll go back and we'll do those. Sarah had asked, what does PQS stand for? When you were listing out the different there was the warranty testing and then or warranty data, and then I think it was PQS data.
Yes. I'm gonna actually confirm because I just had got it wrong not too long ago. So I messaged a friend in my market quality, which is just a fun fact. It's this friend of mine is somebody I had taught. She got a job at Honda the same time as I did about 5 years ago, and she is now the group lead for market quality. She's just like thriving like crazy, and it's so awesome to see. So it is product quality study.
Interesting. Cool. That doesn't make that answer that question. Cool. Well, Claire asked if you need to wear any special outfit for the extreme temperatures, like when you were talking about testing, like how it can be 122 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the super cold.
Yeah. No. Just like whatever you feel comfortable in. I never have like we wear our Honda whites. So I never have like taken this off to do like the extreme hot testing, but I'm sure that would be okay. You're also like in a chamber that like nobody can see you. So I don't see that as a problem. But for extreme cold, I do wear a coat and gloves. The unfortunate part is I wear like earmuffs or a hat in there sometimes, but I have to take it off so I can hear to the best of my ability. And not that anybody has like told me you can't have a hat on, but it just makes sense, right? Want to make sure I can hear well. So yeah, not exactly, just what you're comfortable with.
Sarah, was it Sarah? Sarah had two questions. Sarah also asked what type of engineer you are and like what specific engineering degree that you got at school.
Yeah, sorry, did I not touch on that? It is mechanical engineering,
Oh.
and it's a Purdue degree from Columbus, Indiana. So it was IUPUC. I went to school.
That answers one of our other questions because someone asked what college you went to.
There we go.
Audrey asked, do you have any advice for how to land an internship as a high schooler?
Gosh, knowing people is great as far as getting jobs. But I do want to say, like, it's so much more fulfilling when you get a job and you don't know someone there. I don't feel like I touched on that when I was going through my different roles, but I was planning on it. That when I got the job at Honda, it was the first time I like didn't know someone. Um, did I already touch on this?
I
Do you
don't
know?
think you
Sorry.
mentioned it. No, it's okay. I mean,
Okay.
always good to hear it again, but I don't think you did earlier.
Okay. So it was the first time that I like, yeah, didn't know anyone. And so it was just like a proud feeling beyond anything. I will try to get back to the question, but sorry, I just wanted to share this. But along with that is that even though I didn't um know anyone like that I thought at the time, my first boss did go and ask people that knew me. So there were at least two people that worked at GCOM with me previously, and then one person that I had gone to college with that he found and asked about me. So um, it's just like really important how you are, like you just like at any point you could be making either a good impression or a bad impression on someone that could help you land a future job. So I just think that was like, it was neat for me to realize, like, after I was like, oh, that's cool. Glad I made a good impression on those people. But, and I do think it helped because I was told that I was chosen out of 60 applicants, which I also felt like was like, wow, sweet. It's awesome. Um, any advice? I would say apply like crazy looking for jobs. And career fairs. Sorry, these are probably all just like typical things you've already heard. Um, but it's not a bad thing to get a job also through like knowing people. Networking is huge. So if you do know of someone, it doesn't hurt to just like say, hey, I hear your uncle works here. Can do they have any openings for internships? Especially for an internship and getting your foot in the door. I think that can be very beneficial of like just trying to get in there with knowing someone.
Yeah, I think that's such good advice. Like, I think even though networking can be kind of hard, I think it kind of looking at who you already know and who they know can be like another way, kind of like we were saying, to like go around that, just because I know it can sometimes find like I know we've had a different speaker who talked about how sometimes like networking stuff like would make her nervous, and so that was like an area that she struggled in. Um, but I just think it's smart, like your example with like someone's uncle, like if you already know someone who has someone who's in a field that you're interested in, like it makes sense to also like don't discredit the people that you already have contact with. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. And along with that, like it's okay if they're not an engineer and you want to be in, get in their engineering. Um, because my first internship with GCOM, not first internship, I guess, but my internship with GCOM um, was through somebody that worked in, I don't know, some sort of like administrative, like it wasn't engineering at all, but she still like helped me get in there, So, and
yeah.
then too, even if you start in administrative, if it's like a company you're interested in, it doesn't hurt, to get to know people and move into the role you want.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, especially with like sometimes just trying to get in there, even if it's not exactly where your goal is to be at, like then that at least helps you get your name and your face in there. We
Yep.
have two other questions. They kind of I feel like are a little bit about the same thing. Um, Sujitha asked if you had any suggestions for activities or things similar to internships to do during high school to help like achieve the type of job you have. And Hannah had kind of asked, I feel like a question that goes along with that, kind of like, are there any internships, activities, or specific classes that either you took or that you would recommend taking for someone who is interested in mechanical engineering?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think whatever your school has to offer that sounds interesting to you because you are interested in engineering, definitely try to get involved in that. For me personally, I was involved in Rube Goldberg, which was like the time of my life. I really enjoyed that. And then, like I mentioned, those project lead the way classes were also just like so much fun. And then thinking of like, this is what I'm going to get to do for a living one day is so cool. Um, so robotics, I don't know, like what your school might have to offer. Math academic team doesn't hurt. I was involved in that as well. Um, and if your school doesn't have anything to offer, I've even like bringing it up to them of an idea of a group you want to start, I'm sure, could also get some ground into, everyone loves STEM right now. I'm sure you guys actually have like way more opportunities than I even did. Over 10 years ago is when I graduated high school. So I think, yeah, being involved is great. And what you're doing right now too is I'm sure helping. I was in Ignite Your Future is what it was called through Honda. It was like a leadership for future leaders, and we had quite a few like leader speakers, and I just felt like that was like so beneficial in helping me like kind of shift my mindset of what I was doing, where I wanted to go. And yeah, just like gave me a better understanding and like drive for my future. So even like just being able to hear different engineers or who all you've heard from in their field is good like knowledge for you all to have. So
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think we have time for one more question from Sarah. She asked if Honda trained you when you got hired, and I would also open that up to any of the other jobs that you've had. Like, did you receive a lot of training once you got hired, just in general?
yeah, I would say Honda more than anywhere I've been was loaded with training in the first week and beyond. So I know there's all sorts of shifts we've been through too recently, but it was like not even, I think the first 3 days, like I hadn't even really even seen my new team. It was like full focused on like Honda trainings. And then like different areas all throughout Honda came and like talked to us. And then beyond that, there were, when I got to my new team, it was a lot of different like every other week or so. Sorry, this was a long time ago, but I do remember it was like fairly often that there would be like where all the new people would kind of meet that are in the same area, and it would just be like support of like anything you need and any training you do need help with, because then there also were a lot of trainings that were self-led too. And then we have mentor programs. So there's this whole like skill assessment of different things that your job, like you should be able to do through your job. So you're assigned a mentor and they help you kind of reach all those goals before you're done with that mentor program, which is typically about 2 years. So since I did switch roles last week, we went through my skill assessment, like my new boss and I already achieved all the goals that I needed to reach for the new role. Almost. There were a couple new ones. And so I was assigned like unofficially a mentor on if I needed help with anything, but not the official mentor, because it's a bit more of a process where you have to meet, like different things are like more so required when it's an official mentor. So unofficially given a mentor that can help me like get to those points and meet all those goals that I need to meet. So yeah, a very good training at Honda.
Amazing. Well, Torie, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today and just like showing us everything that you do. I just appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. And I also appreciate everybody who signed on for tonight. I always love these sessions, just always learn so much. Um, and I also, special thanks to Honda for like all of the support you've given this year as a sponsor for the SHLA program. Just a shout out to you guys. Also, thanks to our other sponsors, Start Small and Amateur Radio Digital Communications. For everybody who signed on to this session tonight, like I said at the top, the knowledge check and post-session survey that will be posted on the Google Classroom within the next couple days. And then the session recording should be up by the end of the week, but just keep your eyes peeled on the Google Classroom. I'll just be posting updates in there. If you have any questions for me about anything, you can email outreach@SWE.org. Also, if you have a question that you'd like to be passed along to Torie, you can also send those to me and I can pass those along to her. But that's pretty much it for tonight. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you have a good rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you all so much.